This is an unusual protest. Every weekend at 11, protesters in the southern African nation of Mozambique take to the streets to demand justice from Germany. The so-called Madgermanes toiled as contract workers in former East Germany, but they never received their full wages.
We're still waiting for an answer. Where's our money? Where's our money?
Wo ist unser Geld?
The big demonstration is about to start, as it does every Wednesday. Everyone knows each other here in the Jardim dos Madgermanes, the German garden, in the middle of Mozambique's capital, Maputo. Snack bars, drink shops, nail salons, and small businesses line the edges. But above all, this is a meeting place for those who spent time in Germany, or more precisely, in former East Germany. This period left its mark on them, and to this day they keep its memory alive and speak German among themselves so as to not forget. Julio Faizal Lakha is a Madgermane, a German as they're called here. The Madgermane community has been united for more than 30 years, demonstrating for their rights since the early 1990s. This did not go down well with the state, especially in the beginning. There was at least one fatality among the demonstrators, shot by the police. Today, a stone commemorates him.
One of us died here.
Julio has been with the protesters from the beginning. The time in Germany shaped his life. He went to the GDR in 1980 when he was just 19.
My family was not pleased because I was too young. But times were so hard. I just wanted to get out of Mozambique. There was no life here, just chaos.
It was a difficult time for Mozambique, having just won its independence from Portugal in 1975. A bloody civil war broke out shortly after. Anti-communist rebels faced off against the socialist government led by Samora Moises Michel. Michel and East German leader Erich Honecker came to a cooperative agreement in 1979, which resettled thousands of Mozambicans to the GDR, where laborers were urgently needed. There they lived in tower blocks and outlying districts with little contact to the German population. But they received training and work, sometimes in industry, often simply in the slaughterhouse. The problem was that a large part of their wages were withheld. They were told officially that they would receive the remainder when they returned to their homeland. But in fact, the money went towards servicing Mozambique's debt to the GDR. The contract workers knew nothing of this and never received their money. Around 17,000 people are still waiting for their wages.
We want the world to see us. And we want the world to see that we have never received their full pay for the work we did in East Germany. We were exploited like modern-day slaves.
This is why in Maputo, every Wednesday at 11, they take to the streets, winding through the city center. The police stay back, even blocking a few streets to prevent accidents. Relations between the Madgermanes and the police were not always so good. They demonstrate and dance, demanding justice. The Ministry of Labor on the corner of Karl Marx Avenue marks the end of the demonstration. The protesters' demands to finally be paid for their work are addressed to Germany, but equally to the Mozambican government, which is not exactly popular with most Madgermanes. The protesters ask rhetorically, who has destroyed our society and our families? The answer comes immediately, the Frelimo. The governing party has been in power without interruption since independence. The Madgermanes feel they have been cheated and exploited, yet they have not been especially well liked since their return. They are seen by many as being relatively affluent, and as having lived comfortably abroad during the Civil War. Still, the regular demonstrations have ensured that they are not forgotten.
I only know that they worked abroad, and when they came back, they weren't paid. They've been demonstrating for their rights ever since.
Do you know which country this is about?
Not exactly. I think Germany. They call themselves Madgermanes, and they're always in the garden over there.
Yes, those are the Madgermanes. They're always here on Wednesdays.
It's quite sad. They have to solve this problem.
Especially since considerable amounts of money are involved. Each person is likely owed the equivalent of several thousand euros. That is a lot of money, even though the country has a strongly growing economy and enormous other potential. Tourism, for example. On the other hand, Mozambique is a very fragile state, one of the poorest countries in the world today. Zuul is a town of 36,000 in East German Thuringia, nearly 9,000 kilometers to the north. In the GDR era, Simpson motorcycles were produced here. They had a reputation for being especially strong, durable, and reliable. In fact, although the former state combine has been closed since the fall of communism, young people still race here on Simpson bikes. Adelino Masuvira Joao worked here for many years. He is one of some 2,000 contract workers who remained in Germany rather than returning home. He now works for the Protestant Church in Zuul. Adelino supervised a group of 240 Mozambican contract workers employed here in motorcycle production. 200 men, 40 women.
Dort dieses Gebäude, was Sie da sehen,
this building here was the personnel department, where the workers' wages and deductions were calculated.
Dort wurden die Löhne berechnet. Auch die Abzüge, die uns betrafen, wurden auch dort gemacht. Und darunter gab es
everyone sat and ate together there, without any problems.
Wir alle Deutsch-Mosambikaner aßen wir zusammen an einem Tisch. Da war kein Problem.
As group leader, Joao's job was mainly to translate, ensure discipline, and make sure that the production schedule was met. But the deductions from their wages were also a recurring issue. At first 25, and later as much as 60% was withheld, and supposedly transferred to an account in Mozambique.
Wenn Schwierigkeiten mit dem Lohn gab,
there were often problems with the wages, apart from the 60% deduction. You calculated how much you worked and how much was deducted for Mozambique, but you were still 5 marks short. Then I went to the office with the payslip and sometimes with the employee concerned. That was part of my job too.
Joao was unaware that the withheld wages were secretly being used to service Mozambique's debts to the GDR, rather than being transferred to the workers. Despite the promises that the contract workers were getting rich, they could see that there was nothing in their accounts, nor have their pension contributions ever been recognized.
I was deceived, and I was disappointed. In some ways I was exploited. I didn't become wealthy. The only thing I gained there was experience.
Adelino Joao is calling on the German government to cooperate with Mozambique to find a solution and compensate the Madgermanes. It is a matter of historical responsibility. In the German parliament in Berlin, opinions differ as to whether Germany is really duty-bound on this issue. SED Victims Commissioner Evelyn Zupke works for Parliament to look after the interests of those wronged in the GDR. That includes the Madgermanes. Zupke says, yes, Germany should pay.
Germany has a historical responsibility to the former Mozambican contract workers because the injustice took place on German soil. The gestures which have so far been made are not enough.
In the early 1990s, Germany paid around 75 million euros for the Madgermanes, but the money apparently found its way into the pockets of corrupt politicians in Mozambique. No one knows its fate for sure.
In my opinion, we have to determine what kind of one-time payment we can make to the former contract workers to express our gratitude to them. Many of them have already died or are living in difficult circumstances.
Evelyn Zupke is confident that a solution to the Madgermanes issue will be found by the end of the current legislative term, but policy cannot answer all the questions. Benny Fiedler is a musician. He plays in a band and sometimes on the street, like here in the northern German town of Hildesheim.
Music is my life. I got that tattooed on my arm here. Vita bona est, life is good. I've been singing as far back as I can remember. It keeps me in touch with my roots.
One thing has been bothering Benny for the last year. He hardly knows anything about his father, only that he came from Mozambique and was a contract worker in the GDR, a Madgerman. His mother is German, though such relationships were strictly forbidden. Now in his early 30s, Benny grew up with his mother in Rathenow, East Germany. Then when he was 4, a West German family adopted him and he moved to Hildesheim. He says he had a happy childhood and for a long time didn't ask about his biological father.
I repressed it. When you already look different and you find a way to belong, you repress the things that can take that away from you. I never really felt the need to search for my roots, but that's totally changing now. There's an emptiness inside me that I have to fill. I need to know who I am.
Benny Fiedler is now searching intently for his father with help from an aid organization. It is not an easy task because all he has is a photo.
In the picture, he's standing by a white pickup outside the travel agency where he worked in Maputo. I know his name, but it doesn't seem complete. Louis Schelena. My birth mother gave me the picture. I'm not sure where she got it. This is the only picture I have of him. There's nothing else.
Benny Fiedler is not an isolated case. Madgermanes fathered an estimated 2,000 children in Germany. Only rarely is there any contact, for various reasons. In the evening, Benny performs at the opening of a bar. He often thinks about his father and wonders where he is. Some Madgermanes living in Mozambique today would also like to have contact with their children in Germany. Back in Mozambique, an hour's drive from Maputo, Julio Faizal Lakha, who demonstrates every week, lives here with his wife and son. He has kept all the day-to-day items that remind him of his time in Germany, GDR chairs and beer glasses included, in an album with photos from back then.
Old. Yeah.
That's me with my son.
That's fine.
That's my friend's child. That's my ID card.
Julio fathered 3 children in Germany, but he is no longer in contact with them, nor with his German girlfriend from those days.
I miss my kids a lot, especially on their birthdays and when I look at the pictures. I hope I can see them again someday.
One thing is especially important to Julio. Mozambique and Germany share a chapter in history, one that has left its mark. All the more disappointing, they say here, that even 30 years later, the Madgermanes of Mozambique are still waiting for their wages.